Welcome to this edition of Connersville Speaks on TV3. Tonight we're talking about water and sewers and stormwater, and we got the people that know all about it here with us tonight on this program. We have in the middle is Diana Wright. She is the City of Connersville Grant Administrator. Right next to me is Mike Bottomley. He's a Connersville Utility Director. And Brad Colter on the end. He's the Assistant Utility Director for Connersville Utilities. Welcome, you guys.
Hello.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we have three main north-south streets in Connersville, and one is closed in the north end of town. Why is Grand Avenue closed, Mike?
Due to our water separation projects.
And what is a water separation project?
It's separating our sewer and our stormwater runoff
Okay.
to relieve pressure at the wastewater treatment center.
And where's the stormwater going once it's separated from the sanitary sewer?
Well, a couple areas. Right now, it'll be the project working on right now, 24th Street, will be heading to the river.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about this. My earpiece keeps falling out. We'll be heading to the river, and later on projects, it'll be separated to the sewer plant and a holding pond. But right now, they're just trying to separate it. And most of it will go to the river, which is another part of water quality, which we'll be talking about a little bit later.
Okay. When's this project going to be completed right now? We're working between 20 and 24th?
Yes. I think Brad has information on those projects. He can answer that.
Well, we call that the lower grand portion of the project. That is slated to be finished up substantially by July, the end of July. They'll be spending over the next many months after that to finish it up, but it'll look a lot better than it does right now in just a few months.
An 18-month program, isn't it? And it started last year, and so it should be completed at the end of this year. Dinah, where does the money come from to pay for these things?
The money comes from a grant program. It's funneled down through the federal highway, and then it goes to NDOT at the state of Indiana, and then it's funneled through to, we are a Group 3 city, so we fall into the Group 3 funding from NDOT.
Take us through the grant process. I know you make trips to Indianapolis, you talk to NDOT, you have a lot of papers, a lot of paperwork. Tell us how you get a grant.
Most of them are done online now. Of course, they always have the training that you have to go to beforehand, and lots of quarterly training afterwards. I have to be certified as an employee of responsible charge through NDOT to be a grant administrator. I'm responsible for the claims, the money, and trying to help keep the project on schedule.
Okay, this project, how much is it costing locally?
Locally, it's costing, from the very beginning, this project started several years ago. And so overall, we're looking at about $500,000 match for the entire project,
and
from beginning to end.
And it's in the millions of dollars, isn't it?
Right now, we're guesstimated, the projects came in bid under what we guesstimated. We thought the project was going to be about $3 million, and it looks like with all the cooperation between our contractors, we're going to run about $2.6 million on this project.
Now, is this just the 20th to 24th Street project?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Mike, you're relatively new to the utilities. You've been there, about 7 months, so are things working out pretty well?
Yeah, it's been a quick 7 months. A lot of learning experience. It's a lot different than where I came from, the park system. A lot of new terminology. But overall, I think it's going pretty well. I know Brad's been a lot of help. My office personnel, the service guys, everybody been really accepting and you know, just doing a good job. And I do appreciate all their help getting me acquainted to the department. So I think for 7 months, it's been pretty good.
How many people do you and Brad oversee?
There's about 24 employees total in all the departments.
Okay.
There's our wastewater plant, the
Yes.
service people, and the office personnel, and the water plant.
Mm-hmm.
And they all have staffing in all those areas.
So there are 3 departments that comprise Connersville utilities: water, sewer, and stormwater.
Yes.
Okay.
That was something to get used to, because where I came from is one department, and the billing is much different. Everything's got to be split evenly between the 3.
Yes.
And, it is a little complicated at times. And
Okay.
the office girls do a real good job keeping budgets and numbers for us and keep everything on track.
And your departments are financed through your customers, people that buy water and
Yes, it's based on the rates, sewer and water rates and stormwater
fees.
rate.
No tax money goes to utilities.
Right,
Right. And that's the way it is every place. I mean, it's just not here.
right.
Okay. Brad, you've been in the utility business for a long time. How did you get started?
Well, that's a good question. I had always wanted to work for the city, so that was an opening that came open at the time, and there were a lot of jobs in Connersville then. I had a lot of places where I probably could have made more money, but it seemed like a good fit at the utilities. And that was 29 years and 11 months ago.
We got an anniversary coming up.
Coming up.
Have you done everything over there that
Well-
is to be done?
Probably at one time or another. I was better at some things than others, but I started out at the sewage treatment plant, and I was an operator and worked in maintenance in the lab there. And then for the last 14 years, I worked at the service department as a plumber and as lead man. And then I worked in the stock room for quite a while. And then I came to the office in August of last year.
So you've been down in the holes fixing pipes and things?
Yep.
Like we see the fellows?
Yeah, I like this part of the utilities better than part of it now.
Well, that's quite understandable. Mike, I hear a lot about the MS4 program. What is that?
It's municipal separate storm sewer system. It's a big deal, protecting our waterways, and that's kind of part of this water separation project too. But it's regulated by EPA. We are permitted by IDEM. They will come down here and do audits on us once a year, once every couple of years. And I think this year we're due for an audit. But stormwater, rain, I mean, coming down, 3 things would happen to it. It evaporates into the ground, or when it hits hard surface, it goes into our inlets. And that's what really concerns, as an MS4 coordinator, what happens to that water after that point. And so part of my job is to make sure we get as clean as possible water going back into the river through the stormwater. And we do that by a few things. Part of my job is education and public outreach, kind of what we're doing tonight, flyers. We put things on Channel 3, radio. Also, training our city employees. We'll have actually we have a meeting scheduled April, I think 7th, with all the department heads to review this. Sometime this summer, I will go to all the departments, inspect their garages, vehicles, the properties, those type of things, and see where their runoff is going, if they got open containers and those type of things. And the other thing would be inspecting construction sites to make sure they're practicing good standards in construction, and when it rains, and where does that runoff go? And so it is a big deal. It seems to be getting bigger and bigger. It just, water quality is very important, and with us, that's one of our resources here, and we really got to make sure we keep it nice and clean and do the proper things.
So the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, that's a federal, national organization.
Right. Yeah.
IDEM, the Indiana Department of Environmental Management, is the state's EPA.
Pretty much, yeah.
And you have to answer to, first of all,
IDEM is actually, I guess, our boss. They're the one that will come down here, through the state and inspect. And if we're not following the procedures, I'm sure they'll let us know.
Don't you send samples of our water to Indianapolis every so often for quality tests?
Yeah, our water department will send samples. I know the sewer department, I mean, that's part of their jobs, is testing water. I don't know how many sites in town, but the water department will go throughout the city and check certain areas for water quality, chlorine levels, and in the sewer, they do the same thing, testing every day. You know, it gets reported to IDM, and so that's water quality is a huge issue, and of course, we drink it, so we got to make sure that it is being inspected daily.
When there's a break in a line, you always say there's a boil advisory out. Why?
Just pollutants getting into the water, bacteria, and we want to make sure that that water gets out of there and the new water gets in, and we need to boil that water just in case it gets contaminated a little bit. So there's a certain time period, and they test that. They will test it, and when it comes passable, then they will lift the boil advisory.
I see. Let's get back to tearing up the streets. Brad, what was our first project? Where was it? When did it begin?
I guess the first one we could talk about was out on Gray Road. That was done in the early 2000s, somewhere 2002 or 3, and that kind of began the whole thing. We did a big project over on Conwell Street and River Fayette Street maybe 8 years ago, and I think maybe we wasn't moving quick enough for IDM, and they wanted to speed us up a little bit, and then we eventually ended up under a agreed order, they call it, and that mandates us to do so many basically a project a year or so, and they keep an eye on us just to make sure we keep moving with our projects. And so now the whole plan is kind of mapped out for us. We just have to design them and implement them.
Will the entire town be separated at one time?
No, I think that the original plan, basically, they didn't want to get into the old part of town and have to disturb the old water mains and sewers. So the projects, so much had to be separated, so they mostly did it in the newer areas so that it'd be less chance of breaking lines and having to replace water and sewer. So the older part of Connersville, which is basically 19th Street South, will not have a lot of projects done on it. Eastern Avenue does, and that area towards the river does, but most of the old town of Connersville will not be touched.
I see. That's interesting. I think maybe people thought that it was going to be a citywide project and just a matter of time before their street would be affected. That's interesting to know. Appreciate that. Diana, what's the next project that will be coming up?
The next project will be what we call the Upper Grand Avenue project, and it will run from 24th Street through 30th Street, or up to 30th Street. And there will be an outfall that goes from 24th and Grand all the way to the river across 24th Street.
And how far along is that 24th Street project toward the river?
Actually, we have already started it. We started it approximately a month ago. We're just in the preliminary phases of doing surveys, and it will not go out for bid on construction until late 2017. So construction won't actually start until early 2018, probably springtime of 2018.
And it's a little over a mile, and 1.1 miles or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
And the money probably will be comparable to what it is for the current project?
Well, it's going to be, of course, construction is up right now. So we're guesstimating the project will be a little over $4 million. Since this NDOT money that is coming in is road and street money. So this project will be a little bit more different than the first project because there's so much sewer work that will be going on. Our preliminary engineering will be like an 80-20 split with the federal government paying 80 and us paying 20. The construction of that project will be a 60-40 though, because there's so much sewer work that will go on.
Okay, is the city's contribution comes from stormwater fees, Mike, mostly, or?
For these projects?
Yes.
Yeah, that people notice on their bills, they have a water rate, sewer rate, trash rate, and a storm water rate, and that money is pretty much solely for this project, nothing else. There's some small percent of salaries come out of it, but it's all pretty much 99% of the money that is raised through these taxes is to pay for this project, for these projects. I think the rate is $5.15 a household.
Yes, that's what it is currently,
yes.
and then businesses pay more based on, I believe, the square footage of their
parking lots, their runoff. Yes,
right. I think we have a picture of the project that will follow this on the 24th to 30th. If the fellows would put that up, if you guys would like to comment or anything, should be coming up here shortly. There it is. What can you tell us about that? First of all, at 24th and Park Road, in there a diameter or a pipe that's 6 feet in diameter?
4 feet.
It's a 4 feet?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll tell you about when the Park Road project was done, a 72-inch line was put in between Walmart and Grammy Pharmacy.
Oh.
And that line is what allowed us to do all the separation projects we've done up until now. The Lower Grand and the F project that we'll talk about in a little bit will put that line at capacity.
I see.
Then the next thing we have to do is, you'll see as you look at that L there, the southern part of that L that goes all the way to the river, that'll be the new 48-inch line that will run all the way from 24th and Grand to the river.
Okay.
That's a big project. So it runs all the way down kind of between Kunkel's and the Ford dealership there, all the way to the river. And that'll allow us to do all the separation projects up in that end of town in the future.
The Ohio Avenue project, where is that water going now?
It goes to the 72-inch that runs.
Okay. So it is in use now?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, it's about 3/4 at capacity with the projects we've got on it so far. And then once we finish the F project and the Lower Grand, then that we'll be able to cap off our first CSO and all that, and then that line down there will be at capacity.
Very good, very good. I know when they started on Grand Avenue, fellows came in and felled a lot of trees. But what can you tell the people that lost their trees, Diana?
The Fayette County Foundation has agreed to partner with us and help replace trees back on Grand Avenue. We will be contacting the homeowners to see who's interested in having a tree, and because not everyone wants a tree in their yard to take care of. So hopefully we'll be able to get all of those planted. It probably won't be until closer till fall, that we can, which is a better time probably to plant those anyway. But
Right. So this work is a complete street rebuild that's underway? Is that what's happening?
yes.
So curb to curb or
Curb to
sidewalk
curb.
to sidewalk?
Sidewalk to sidewalk, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So there'll be new sidewalks,
New sidewalks and
new curbs?
new curbs. It doesn't look very good now, but it'll be awesome when it's done.
It's comparable to Ohio Avenue, isn't it?
Correct.
I mean, it
Correct.
made a big improvement in that section of the city, I thought. So those folks up there have something to look forward to.
Yes.
How are the residents handling the inconvenience? What can you tell us? Who can comment on that?
Well, 99% of the people are are happy to have the project being done, and they're most
Understand.
cooperative, and really everybody's cooperative. It inconveniences businesses probably more than it does residential. And but for the most part, everybody there has an alley entrance to their property. Everybody's got pretty used to going in the back, and it's really been pretty good.
There's always a public hearing held before these projects get underway to bring the folks up to speed as to what's going to happen. Who's in charge of the public hearing, Diana?
Actually, the engineering firm
I see.
will be in charge of the public hearing. Of course, the three of us will be in attendance. We'll do one actually during the design phase. And then on the current Grand Avenue project, we did one before construction began.
I see.
Give a chance for the residents to meet the contractors and, look at the plans, actually see once everything's been finalized and complete.
And it's just a session to explain it to the people and
Yes,
what they can expect
yes.
and everything. And is there a date set for that one yet, or are we too far away from it?
We're still pretty far away from having any
Okay.
preliminary plans. We're probably at least 2 years out.
I see. Okay. And again, it's to begin when? The 24th to 30th?
That project will not be, construction won't start until probably spring of 2018.
Oh, okay. So we're 3 years away from that.
Yes.
Brad, if the public has questions or concerns, should they contact you guys, or?
That's probably the best thing, is to get with us, and then we can direct them to the right person or get them a good answer. And probably the thing not to do is to go out into the street and try to talk to the guys that are doing the work. A lot of times that's what happens. And number one, they probably don't have an answer because they're working for somebody,
Sure.
us. And so the best thing to do is to get a hold of us, and we'll direct them in the right place. I mean, sometimes people will call the mayor's office if they don't get the satisfaction, from
Sure.
us and our answer, they would go that route. But we would like to have a chance to start the ball rolling with us, and we'll get them to the right person.
Do we really hire, we don't make the final decision as to who the contractor will be, do we? Or do we?
Not on the construction.
Oh, okay.
The construction portion, it is bid through NDOT, and the lowest bidder gets the project.
Sure.
So
Sure.
that's how we were able to get this project so much cheaper. It was estimated to, the current Grand Avenue project was estimated at $3 million, but the construction came in at $2.2 million, so it was quite a bit of savings.
Yes, absolutely, right. I'm sure the state people were very happy on that. Brad, overall, what's the cost of this entire project? Is it like excess of $20 million or something?
Yeah.
Or-
Yeah, I think I've heard lots of numbers tossed around, probably 25 million but we have some good ideas about how to cut those things down. We've been talking about this quite a bit. We're gonna try to shave these costs down. In the beginning, when things were going really good in town, when they first started talking about it, we would have liked to replace sidewalks on every street.
Sure.
Put new curbs in. Now, it looks like we just really can't afford that, probably, as much as we would like to do it. So now we're trying to just tear up as little as we have to do, save as much money as we can.
Sure, right. In the news right now, you guys are trying to buy a new truck. What kind of truck you want to buy? Mike?
What kind of truck? What's
it do?
We call it a vac truck.
Okay.
We use it for a whole, different array of things. Clean out pipes, clean out lift stations. Our truck is, correct me if I'm wrong, 24 years old or so. It's on its last leg, and it's time that we get a better piece of equipment for the guys. They use that thing weekly, daily.
Right.
So it's a handy tool to have, and I know, we help the communities around Everton sometimes to clean out their lift stations. So it's needed. I know it's been a long, drawn-out process, but we're just trying to get the best truck at the lowest price as we can, because we do understand budgets and,
Yes.
you know, with all these projects and all the things that needs to be done, we're just trying to get the best option for us, and we should have a good decision at probably the second Board of Works meeting in April. We should come with a truck, recommend a truck to the Board of Works to get this thing done, and so we can move on.
How many fellows does it take to operate this truck?
The salespeople says one guy can handle it, but we like to have a couple guys there at the truck just in case. They're pretty automated now, but it takes 2 to 3 guys to operate and to make sure everything's safe.
Anything else you guys need? Any other kind of equipment coming
Well,
up?
you know, we did kind of make a 5-year plan on equipment. The vac truck is a huge piece of equipment.
Yes.
And vehicle-wise, trucks, cars, we're okay for a couple years. Other than that, I think we're sitting pretty good. Our big concern is the water lines, the old lines in the city, the lift stations, the maintenance stuff that we really need to start getting on and doing that maintenance items. So that's the type of stuff we're going to be looking at next, 2 to 5 years.
Sure. Let's talk about where the water comes from that Connersville people drink. Where are the wells and how it gets to their house?
But we have a couple well fields, water well fields. We sit, Fayette County sits, this area sits on aquifers.
What is an aquifer?
It's an underground lake,
Okay.
make it simple, underground water that sits and it refills from the groundwater, rivers. And we pump out of those. We have a fill behind the Roberts Park track. There's some wells, and that's where the majority of the water comes from. And for backup, we have wells down at the Babe Ruth complex, sitting towards the back by the river. So that the water comes into the water plant on Park Road and gets treated, and it gets sent out throughout the city.
How deep are these wells, Brad?
That's a good question. 75 feet would probably be a good number. We've got the basically pumps right out of the aquifer, fills the wells up, and then the water's pumped up to our storage tanks and run through the water plant through that facility. And most of the time we use the wells that are behind the new water plant. And like Mike said, the other is a backup.
I see.
But we do run it. Sometimes when we have a fire and we need to boost the water pressure, we turn it on and they test it and run it for maintenance purposes once a month for an hour or two. And
Okay, once the water reaches the storage plants, when's it treated? What happens when it's treated?
well, it comes up from the well up through the pressure filters. If you drive by the new water plant, you'll see big, looks like tanks behind the plant.
Yes.
Those are pressure filters that the water runs through to clean it. And then it comes inside and gets chlorinated, gets some fluoride, and then gets sent out to the people. Well, a lot of times it goes up from the water plant up into the big storage tanks, like up on Elephant Hill and out to the golf ball on Country Club, and then goes out to the people.
Talk about the wastewater treatment plant. When was that built? And I'm not sure a lot of people know where it's at.
Well, it's down south of town near the railroad, just south of the railroad by the transfer station behind it there. It was built in 1955, in the early 50s. It took quite a few years to build it. Before that, believe it or not, we didn't have a wastewater plant in Connersville. It went right to the river.
Yes.
And we were under an agreed order basically at that
Back
time.
then, huh?
You have to build a plant right now. So I think we read earlier it cost about $4 million in 1955 to put in all the sewer lines to run down there and to build that wastewater plant.
How was it paid for? Do you recall?
I think I've heard that they got some federal money. They
Okay.
got federal grants that helped, but it was paid for mostly with federal loans.
Okay. And has it been added to over the years?
We had a big expansion there in 1974 when they pretty much doubled the size of the capacity. And in 1990, they added some new equipment, and we've had a couple of small expansions down there during that time, but it's pretty old plant now. Our main building is showing a little wear, so we've got to start thinking about what we're going to do to replace that one of these days.
Diana, another grant.
There you go.
What's the capacity? I mean, is it,
It was designed to treat 22 million gallons a day with an average flow of 7.5. When I first started at the utilities, we were running about 7.5 million gallons a day there, but now it is more like probably 3.
industry probably added
Quite a
to
bit.
that? Yes.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you guys a little bit too about when a resident has a problem, a leak or something. What's the process?
You want to get that? Or you
Want me to answer that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, if it's during the daytime, the best thing to do is to call the office. And the office will dispatch some guys to go out, check it out. If it's something that's our problem, we'll either, if it's bad enough, we'll fix it right away. If it's not terrible, we'll put it on schedule to fix.
I see.
If it's at night, we have a little trouble with the phone numbers. The phone books these days are kind of odd the way they set up the phone numbers, so I was going to kind of make a big deal out of this. The best thing to do at night is to call the Service Watch phone number, which is 265-1455.
Okay.
And that goes straight to the guy that would be on call to come check out a leak or if somebody had a backed up sewer, they could also call that same number.
Okay.
If they can find it in the phone book, the number that it will say is the sewage treatment plant number, which is 825-9411. But at night, that is forwarded right to that same cell phone number.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Do you get very many calls after hours?
Oh, I'd say a couple, 2 or 3 a week
Really?
on average.
And of course, if it's a city's problem, you take care of it. If it's up to the meter, if it's metered to the house, it's somebody else's problem. And there's, I believe, an insurance program that's available for people if they'd like to take part. Tell us about it.
I think Mike's going to tell
Yeah,
you about that. Let me, before that, while we're on the subject though, if somebody calls after hours on a water call, they're subject to a $55 charge for somebody to come out if it's their problem.
I see.
If we get out there and we have to shut off their water because they've got a leak in the house, we have to charge them for the guy coming out.
I see.
If we get out there and it's something that's our problem, of course, we're not going to charge them anything.
Sure.
And if they call on a sewer, we don't charge them to go check the sewer. Only on water, so I thought I'd let everybody know. And that charge is normally $55. We try to tell everybody at the time they call.
I see.
So they understand
Well, that's good to know. Sure. Sure. Mike, what is
The insurance policy, it's something, I know it's out there, some people do have it, but we was approached by a company, NCL, it's a service line warranty program, that we're going to support with the city, with a lot of the old lines that's still out there. It might be something that they could look at, be helpful to the people. But most times, we're responsible from the meter to the main, and the customer is responsible, the resident is responsible, meter to the house.
Yes.
On most occasions, okay? This insurance will cover the residents' pipes, service lines from the meter to their house. If the meter to the main is a problem, then we fix that. But the resident is responsible for the meter to their house most times, and that's what this insurance is going to cover. I think it'll be a good program. The residents should be getting something in the mail 1st of April that will discuss rates, a little bit more information about it. Right now, we're waiting for a letter to the mayor needs to approve that goes to the people.
I see.
And we're still waiting for that letter. As soon as we get that and get that approved, they'll start mailing them out and start offering this program.
What's it cost to have a repair made, average cost of fixing a break in a line?
Well, normally, utility side or customer
No,
side?
for the private side.
Private side, I
Yes.
mean, normally they hire a plumber, certified plumber has to come in, depends on the job. I
see.
mean, it's hard to say what, it could be quite a bit. I mean, lines around the ground, gotta dig them out, I mean, there's a lot of labor to this. So, I couldn't tell you what, everything's a little bit different.
Is this insurance cover just water, or does it water and sewer?
It covers water and sewer.
Okay.
They open it up for both lines, so that's nice.
Can you give us an idea what the price might be?
We haven't seen prices yet.
I see.
Like I said, as soon as they get this letter, they're gonna send us the information out. But I mean, I would hate to have to say a price when I don't really know.
Okay, sure. That's okay. What's the emergency call list thing? What's that all about?
It's another new item we're trying to do. And one thing, when I started 7 months ago, got with Brad, and one thing is customer service. Maybe try to enhance that a little bit. So this emergency call list, it's something our software can do. We just haven't used it. Our computer software at the office. And we'll be able to contact people through their phones for emergencies, such as the boil advisories, if we need to shut water off, construction dates. Right now, what is exciting is we can notify the area that will be affected. Right now, we have to put it on channel 3, put it on the radio, and the whole city knows. And sometimes it only affects a couple blocks.
Okay.
So this is a nice program that these people get phone calls that affects them. The important part of the whole thing is we have to get the correct information, the correct phone number, so we can call them. So we are reminding customers when they come in, double checking their phone. So, you know, do us a favor, if you want information, contact the office. If you need to update your phone number information, please let us know. That's the whole key to this whole program.
Okay. We have someone who has called in our program, and we would like to right now put the caller on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I've received 2 notices in the mail about American Water Resources of Indiana from Indianapolis. Is this the same company that the city is standing behind, or is this somebody else jumping the gate?
That's somebody else. I mean,
Yes.
there's all kinds of these warranty companies.
I received the same letter, yes, and I knew
Right.
it wasn't the one that.
Yeah, it should say NCL on it. I know there's a lot of these programs out there, but this is the
Yes.
one that we're supporting. I mean, they can go any program they want, any insurance program, but that's a different one.
Well, I believe you fellows checked this one out, and you checked, Brad, didn't you, with other cities, and they were
Yeah, I called a couple of places. Harrison, Ohio was one that I got into a pretty good conversation with their city manager. He could say nothing but good things about the company that we're looking at. He said it's been most helpful to people. I believe he told me that they had paid $100,000 in claims in a couple of years to repair people's water and sewer.
Yes.
They're real happy with it. He went on and on about it, so that was good information that we got from them that kind of led us to want to do it.
By the way, caller, if you have anything else to say, if not, we appreciate you calling us.
I said, how will I know then that it's the one that the city is standing behind when it does come, other than all these others that are coming?
There will actually be a letter from the mayor.
From the mayor?
The mayor will endorse it at the bottom of the letter.
Okay.
So-
Okay, I'll be looking for that one then.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
Should
Thank
be
you.
sometime in April. Thank you very much, caller. We appreciate it. If anyone of our viewers would like to call, 825-3245. The number is on the screen right now, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. You guys got a website. Tell us about that.
Okay. Also, that warranty, they're going to use local plumbers too. That's really nice. They're going to try to get a list of
okay.
local plumbers, so it's still, keep the business here in town. A website is another thing we're trying to do to enhance for better customer service. John Pazzi helped us out a lot with this. And it's also ongoing. We made a few changes real quick, how to get onto the website. You can go into Connersville Community website and choose departments, and you find it that way, or you just type in Connersville Utilities in the website search. You should find it that way. Some of the changes we made, we've added some information tabs too. Right now it was pretty basic. It has address, phone number, pay a bill, and that's about it. So we added 4 tabs. One is Education and Community tab, which will have our flyers of numerous topics, MS4, wellhead protection, and also we added a video just a couple days ago about stormwater.
Okay, very good.
Are we gonna get this? Want to get that call, or I?
Yeah, we have another
continue?
caller on the line. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, I'd like to ask a question about the F project.
All right.
Are you going to get the Grand Avenue project open before you start the F project?
And Brad or Mike, what is the F project?
Well, that's a good question. Hopefully they got it on the screen. Okay. I think Brad has the information on the construction. He's my construction guru.
Well, to the caller, we've been working closely with both contractors. We kind of thought we might have the same contractor on both projects. It didn't work out that way, but we've been working closely with them to coordinate to keep traffic flowing over there. It's going to get really difficult for a little bit, but we're going to try to keep, hopefully, east of 21st and Grand will be open through the intersection going one way or the other at all times. That's our goal. We're going to do our best to keep it moving over there.
And what are the streets? We can see 21st Street, but what are the north-south streets?
It starts at, the F project starts at Grand and 21st Street and goes west to Iowa, and then it goes up a half a block, and then it picks up from 21st and Vermont going north a half a block also. And normally we would not have designed all this for these 2 projects to be going on at the same time, but this was already in our lap when we got here. This was the way it was done, and we're just trying to deal with it. We set the whole thing up so that they were going to come in and rip out all 4 from 20th to 24th all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And we scaled that back a little bit to try to keep the businesses open and as little of disruption for them.
Sure.
We've been working hard at it. It's not been perfect, and it probably won't be perfect, but we're trying real hard.
Now it's quite a project like the current Grand, is it? I mean, it's not a curb to curb, is it?
No, we're just gonna kind of tear up the middle of the street, put in a new storm line, add some catch basins, and the hardest part of it is right in the intersection. They have to go about 20 feet deep to connect to the big trunk line that goes across to the river. And once they get that part done, they'll be coming up a little bit as they go, and it'll go pretty quick. We got a construction schedule on that project today. They're going to start moving in on April the 13th, and on the 20th they'll start digging. And I think they said they thought they'd be paving by, wasn't it June the 30th?
Yeah, it was Gene.
Oh,
We
good.
was happy with that date.
Yeah, so
Sure.
that one will go pretty quick.
Good. How the weather? What connected these projects? Oh, the caller is. I'm sorry, sir. Do you have anything additional after Brad described it to you?
There was one other question, a lot
Sure.
of chatter about when they get to the 24th to 30th Street project, how are they going to do that with the businesses and so forth up there? And there's a lot of chatter about the nursing home and how would they get people in and out of there if they tear up Grand like they did here.
Yeah, we're very aware of the problems from 24th to 30th. There's not alleys, especially, nursing home is a big concern.
Yes.
I know the engineers, they're looking at that and trying to find options. So that's still in the progress, and they assured us that they will do everything they possibly can to make life easier for the people down the Grand. But it is going to be a problem, and they'll figure something out. But, like I said, they're still in the planning process of that project. So we got some time to get it figured out. And the nursing home is the biggie. The school can always enter from the back side of it.
Iowa Avenue
Yeah,
side,
but,
yes.
nursing homes and the people, they're not out, they don't have alleys behind their houses down
That's
through there.
right,
So
yes.
we're working hard on it. Engineers are coming up with some options, and hopefully we'll meet with them and see what they come up with.
All right, sir, anything else you'd like to ask us? Thank you very much for the call. We appreciate it. Anyone else has a call, why they can call us at 825-3245. The 30th Street ends on the south side, doesn't it? It doesn't cross 30th Street, does
No,
it?
it does
Okay.
not.
Right.
We don't have to get into the 30th State Road. Okay. I thought that might, that could cause some problems. Yes, right. Okay. We've covered quite a bit of things here, what folks can do to help themselves. We talked about the insurance program that you fellows have worked out with a company that would be good if people decide to go with it. We talked about your website. What else would you like to talk about? You know what project will follow the 30th Street project? Is that in the drawing board yet?
We've got a really big drawing board. There is a project actually that comes before the Upper Grand project. We have a 3-street project over in what I guess most people would call Brighton Ball Edition. That will be Earl Drive, 23rd Street, and 24th Street. And we'll start designing that project next year. It'll be done in 2017 or 18. And that's $1 million project right there. And we've been talking about, we're going to do a little experimenting with that project. We're going to try to break it down into 3 small projects where we can get some local contractors involved. And hopefully, if we're going to spend $20 million over the next quite a few years, maybe we can spend some of that in Connersville with local people.
Very good.
Local wages. So that's going to be kind of a trial balloon that we're going to do on that project over there and see how that works out.
Will you try to get a grant for that, Diana, or?
The traffic count for that area would not be as high as Grand Avenue. They go by traffic counts
really?
on those areas for that. I mean, we could always try for something.
Is there a main sewer in the old canal bed? And that's not involved in this, apparently, is it?
No, believe it or not, when I was checking into this project, I was surprised. I kept trying to figure out where it came across Western Avenue to get to the river, and then it doesn't ever go to the river. It kind of goes into the canal and into that storm that runs there, so we're going to have to be real creative of how that's going to be designed. I was going to tell you, there's about 5 or 6 different projects coming up after. I'll just touch on each one of them a little bit if that's okay.
Great.
We've got that Earl Drive and then Upper Grand, and then there are several small projects below 24th Street to finish those areas up. And then we've got to get the area behind, let's say, north of Grandview, and get that area in a project. And then we'll have the areas south of 30th Street between Grand and Park Road to do. And there's a couple of things that we can do. We haven't got into it too much yet, but sometimes you can replace the major project with a wetland project where we might buy a block of land and turn it into a kind of a wetland to dissipate the stormwater instead of having to run it into the ground. And there's an area up around the 27th to 30th Street that we think we can maybe do that to save money. And then we have a project we're supposed to do down at the Babe Ruth complex. There's a very huge project on Eastern Avenue, and it's called the Interceptor Project. That's a $4 million project. And then to finish this whole great plan up is a $4 million wet weather treatment facility at the wastewater plant. And Mike and I went and looked at a couple of those. They're basically big holes in the ground that catch overflow water. And we have to do that to finish up. That's about a $4 million expense.
And do you have acreage for something like that?
Not really. No, we don't really have the land.
That's an issue.
Yeah. We've got to find a place to put it. I keep telling Mike we're going to put it in Smalley's Pond, but he doesn't like that
He
idea.
frowns
Yeah.
on, yeah, he frowns on that, right, right. We take Everton and Milton sewage. Talk about that. It's kind of unusual, isn't it? But
Well, it's been a good thing for us because it's a revenue stream,
Sure.
for us. I told you before, our wastewater treatment plant was designed to take 7.5 million gallons a day. And now we're putting about 3 through it. So it's good for us to have that extra. It helps us to some degree, and we can also get paid to take it. So we like that. We would, if more people want to run a line over here, we'll probably find a way to take it.
and the water, we have water that goes outside the city limits. Explain, I know you go to Pleasant View and a lot of areas that surround the town get water, and these folks pay a little bit more than the people inside the city, don't they?
Back in the 90s, some people, you were probably one of them at that time, there was people that thought it was a good idea for us to expand our water services, so we went to Pleasant View, we went to Shelton Platte, Gorton Estates, several other areas that we hadn't been to before. It worked out really good because we grew our customer base by 800 or 900. And over the ensuing years of our declining population, we probably lost that many customers, so it really at least helped keep us consistent. And those areas, we haven't lost the customers in like we have in some of the in-town areas, so that was a good thing.
To get the water to these areas, what do you have to do?
Well, we ran a new water main under the river at 24th Street to get to Shelton Platte.
I see.
And I can't remember what the cost was. Maybe I never knew it, but we spent a lot of money in the late 90s, early 2000s to run those 8 and 10-inch mains out. And it's been a good thing for us because we've picked up fairly good number of customers as the ensuing years have went on. People have hooked on and built houses in those areas where they wouldn't have maybe before.
Do there have to be pumping stations along the route?
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. Yeah, we installed booster stations when they first put the lines in, so.
At one time, I think there was some talk of maybe going to Orange. Is that possible?
Well, it's possible. It probably is not economically feasible.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. Well, I knew those people sometimes have difficulty with their water, and I just wondered if we had the ability to.
Connersville probably couldn't afford to do that kind of a project. I mean, it would have to be paid for maybe by federal funds or something to be able to do it.
Diana, what can you tell us about getting funds? Is this a real problem or a lot of competition, I guess, isn't there?
Very much competition. Of course, the federal funds are dropping, just like everything else.
Sure.
Not the availability that there was.
But it takes a lot of work on your part.
It does.
And does every city have a grant administrator?
No, not all cities have. Someone in my position, it's something new Mayor Urban started. There was a grant writer at Economic Development that I worked with before. When she left to stay, she had children, she decided to stay home with them. So that's when the mayor hired me to do full-time grant writing for the city, and half of my salary is reimbursed by the county. Excuse me.
Yes, I know
county
you're
as well.
a
Yes.
county city employee because you help the county out too.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
You just don't limit yourself to what the utilities needs. I believe you cover other areas too, don't you?
Correct. I do a lot of police and fire. We're always in need of some type of equipment.
Yes.
Is huge needs for police, fire, EMS, the county. For a while, I helped them with their NDOT projects. We were able to get a couple bridges funded during that time. There was a period between Jerry Gobin and when Warren Sudoff took over that I helped out in the same position I'm helping Mike and Brad
I see.
with the county highway bridges. So NDOT allowed me to do that for what, usually they don't like you to do two entities, but they knew we were kind of in a rough place, so they allowed us to do that. There's very many ongoing grants at the counties that I oversee on a weekly basis. The STOP grant, the, I'm sorry, can't remember them all right off. There's Victims Assistance, has grant funds, the health department, the entire community corrections facility and all their employees are paid with grant funds. The public transportation is one of my grants as well.
Okay, yeah, so you cover a big area. Did you go to school to learn this? I mean...
I did take special classes. I am certified grant administrator through the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs.
So, to get a grant, I know you spent a lot of time at NDOT Indianapolis. What do they ask you up there? What do you have to go and be prepared to answer?
Be prepared. Mostly they're training me instead of me asking them questions.
Okay.
They mostly do the training. Each department has lots of training that you need to go to. You need to keep up on the laws, the rules, and the regulations.
How closely are they watching these projects here in town, the Grand Avenue project?
Very closely.
Okay.
I do monthly reports on most projects.
I see. And what's a monthly report consist of? What do you have in there?
They want to know what progress was made on the report, how much money you've spent during that month.
I see.
Most of our grants are reimbursable grants, so that's how we get paid is each month. When I turn that report in, I said how much we spent that month, and that's how much we,
Okay.
get back in.
Good. That's interesting to know. I know you're very busy and everything, and I'm not sure how you keep it straight, but you do, and congratulations.
Some days not so well.
Mike and Brad, you guys got anything you'd like to say here as we near the end of our program?
Just want to remind the public, check the website out, update your information, and we'll do the best we can on these separation projects. If they have any questions or concerns, don't be afraid to give us a call.
Sure.
Because we understand. We live here too. We drive through the streets, so we want to try to make it as smooth as we can. So don't be afraid to give us a call.
Okay.
The number at the office, by the way, is 825-2158,
Right.
in case we haven't said it already.
Good enough. Good enough. How many guys are working right now on this project? Do you have any idea?
Utilities people? Or,
No, the contractor.
Well, today they had three on site. It depends on what they're doing.
I see.
Sometimes they don't, they're just on the project. They usually have 3 to 7 people working on the site throughout the summer.
I really forgot to mention one of the payments that you folks can do at the utilities. If they don't want to go to the utilities to pay, can't they have it taken out of their bank account or something?
Yeah, that's something we're trying to push a little bit. On our website, there is a form they can fill out, direct deposit, and have it filled out when they bring it in. But that is another option, and also can pay on credit card too.
It's a good convenience. Well, I want to thank you guys for appearing tonight. Diana Wright, the Connersville Grant Administrator, Mike Bottomley, who is Superintendent of the Utilities, and the Assistant Superintendent Brad Colter. Thanks to all of you for appearing here tonight on Connersville Speaks, and thank you viewers and those who called in. We appreciate it. Thank you very much, and good evening here on TV3 from Connersville Speaks.